Sofia Baturina was just 16 years old the day the war broke out in her hometown of Severodonetsk in eastern Ukraine. Her older sister Anna, thousands of miles away in America, recalls a moment she got the terrible news.
I remember this day because I was still awake. It was around 10 p.m. here in New York.
Anna immediately called her parents back home.
It was very hard because I think it was hard to break those news to them. And sorry. I said that the war started, and I said that they should get out.
But it was already too late. A hail of artillery fire and rocket attacks rained down. Sofia and her parents were stuck.
So we went to basement every day, and sometimes we could spend there 8 hours, sometimes 11, sometimes 7, because it were a lot of explosions. Any hour, any moment, any second, you just didn't know when to expect them.
Days became weeks as food grew scarce and winter temperatures dropped.
Sometimes the electricity would go out, and it was February, so you couldn't get warm even with the heater, really.
Back in America, Anna was terrified.
And was there ever a time when you thought, I may not see my parents or my sister again?
Of course, there are times when I call them and they don't pick up. I don't even know if they're still alive.
Because now, as each day passed, the danger for Sofia was increasing. A few weeks earlier, Sofia had been set to have open heart surgery, but it was postponed after she tested positive for COVID-19. She'd been born with a rare heart defect called tetralogy of Fallot that can lead to dangerously low levels of oxygen in the blood. And now, in the middle of a war zone, she was growing weaker by the day.
I tried to stay strong and don't cry and don't be nervous. When you sit in the basement every day, 11 hours, and hear it all the time, your nervous system is getting a little bit.
And so you were having panic attacks?
The first days maybe, but then I get
more stress resistant.
Anna knew it was only a matter of time. Her family had to flee. So working the phone nearly 24/7 from the United States, Anna helped her parents and sister escape to Poland, then Germany. But the journey took its toll, and Sofia's surgery became even more urgent.
And they said that we need to do it as soon as possible because given the amount of stress she went through, we just don't know how much time we have.
Anna made one more desperate call, this time to the Global Medical Relief Fund, a nonprofit organization that helps children from countries hit by war and natural disasters.
And I said, is there any way that we can help this girl?
Elissa approached one of her organization's friends at Richmond University Medical Center in Staten Island for help.
So I sent him the email, and in 1 hour he got back to me with a doctor from Mount Sinai on the phone saying they would love to help.
Sofia and her family expected a risky open heart surgery with days, if not weeks, in the hospital and a long recovery. But Dr. Barry Love, a cardiologist at the Mount Sinai Children's Heart Center, had a better option in mind.
When I looked at everything, though, I was cautiously optimistic that with a little bit more investigation, we might be able to avoid a surgery.
At last, a possible lucky break for Sofia. Dr. Love decided to perform a minimally invasive procedure to fix Sofia's defective heart valves. He inserted a catheter in a vein in her leg and traced it back to her heart.
And so, Dr. Love, what did you do to fix this?
So what we did is we inflated a series of balloons across that area. This is one of them. As we inflate it, you can see that very tight narrowing goes away as we expand the balloon.
The balloon is made of Kevlar, a synthetic material so strong it's used for racing tires and bulletproof vests.
This is what we call a high-pressure balloon. What's interesting about this is that we really do need to exert a lot of force to open that area up because of that calcification.
Dr. Love and his team put in a stent to keep the blood vessel open and then placed a new valve to prevent blood from going in the wrong direction.
And so what did this feel like? I mean, you have a patient here who's told they needed open heart surgery, and then you were able to do this. I mean, that must have felt pretty cool.
It's very gratifying when we do these procedures and we're in the moment where we know that we're able to do this and we're having success. It really is a very good feeling.
Sofia was out of the hospital in less than 24 hours and soon was feeling like an energetic teenager.
She was excited to tell me that she walked 19,000 steps without stopping, without needing to do, and before that just hadn't happened.
Unfortunately, Sophia is just one of many Ukrainian children who could need life-saving medical care soon.
I really feel that we're going to have a lot of Ukrainian children coming down the pike.
Meanwhile, Sophia and Anna are making up for lost time, seeing all the sights of the Big Apple, with Sophia taking along her sketch pad.
And I understand you have some drawings here.
This was my face when I first time saw Times Square, like, oh my gosh. It was the first time. It was so bright and so big and so beautiful to me. Then I went there for the second time and didn't like it.
You're a real New Yorker already.
A wonderful life in front of her, thanks to a big sister and the people she found to help her, who simply wouldn't give up on Sophia.
It's great that we are able to reunite and be all together now.
Do you like living with your sister?
Yes. Better say something nice.
Dr. Syal, it's great to see them up and about. I'm glad the procedure went well, but there must be an enormous need for this kind of medical assistance for kids who are affected by this war.
Yeah, so we talked to Alyssa. She works at the Global Medical Relief Fund, Joshua, and she basically told us, we don't have an exact number of kids who need this care, but the First Lady of Ukraine, the ambassador to Ukraine from the U.S., and vice versa, are both working to identify these kids who both need both physical help and mental help, because as you know, war, there's two components to that as well.
Talk to me a little bit more about the condition. I was not familiar with this. Tetralogy of Fallot. Is this something that's common, that parents need to worry about? Is it unusual? Just run us through what that is again, in case people heard it and may have gotten worried.
Yeah, so it's not terribly common, but it is a heart condition that babies are born with. And if you remember, Jimmy Kimmel's son was actually born with this a few years ago. And back when he was pleading for pre-existing coverage, it was because of this condition.
That's right. I remember that now. This was the condition that kind of sparked that whole, that moment that went viral.
Exactly.
Right. How is this treatment that they used with, a stent, this Kevlar stent, and then an artificial valve, is this cutting edge? Is this common? I guess I'm just trying to get a better sense of whether this is unique treatment or whether this is the kind of treatment that all kids would get if they weren't dealing with something like the war in Ukraine.
So we talked to Dr. Love about that. Why was it that Sophia needed open heart surgery in Ukraine and you were able to do that here while avoiding that? And, medicine is so specialized in this country, and it does take a real expert in the field to be able to do that. By avoiding open heart surgery, you have less risk of infection. You are in the hospital for less time. So there are some benefits to this as well, besides, not cracking open the chest.
What did you make of just the nature of the journey that they had to go through in order to get this kind of care? I would presume that under normal circumstances, there might be medical or diplomatic relationships between hospitals in different parts of, say, Western Europe, where maybe she wouldn't have had to go as far as the U.S. Maybe she could have gone to Poland or to Germany or to Romania or someplace that wasn't quite so far afield.
Yeah, this is truly remarkable, right? Not only are we talking about fleeing from a country, we're talking about fleeing from a war-torn country while having shortness of breath or trouble breathing, just exerting yourself. We talked to Dr. Love about what symptoms Sophia really had when she presented, and he was telling us climbing up a flight of stairs, for example, was a problem. And you heard a little bit about it in the piece, but Sophia actually also started having panic attacks. So she's down in the bunker 11 hours a day. She's hearing explosions all around, and all of a sudden she's having panic attacks that actually lasted with her. And she started, as she was going to Germany, like we heard in the piece, every little loud noise she would hear would start to startle her a little bit in ways that never happened before.
It is so good to see a little bit of good news kind of out of Ukraine, not so much for the kids who are still there, but at least they were able to make their way there. NBC News Medical Fellow Dr. Akshay Syal, fabulous story. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.